Hi, I'm Jessica Adducci.
And I'm Nick Adducci.
So we're a very creative couple. I'm a screenwriter, and he's an animator.
And she's a heck of a good producer.
I'm also a producer. So welcoming someone who is a geek when you're not a geek is tough, because that overlapping interest is, to me, from everything I've found, so take this for what you will, is really important. And so the closest I can get to that is kind of, again, what happened to me in my church experience, where they expressed genuine interest. It wasn't a passing interest. It wasn't a line, trying to just go, oh, what are you interested in? Well, let's get you over here. Or falling into the trap of making the person a project, because that happens a lot too. We've both experienced that.
Fake
yeah.
interest a mile away.
Definitely.
So you're going to have to find a way to make it genuine.
Right. I think it's hard to invite yourself to things or whatever, but really genuinely striking up conversations with people and being able to say, oh, what do you guys do? Going to another table where there's anime being mentioned or something like that, and just going over and saying, I don't really know a whole lot about anime. Could you tell me about it? Like, learning more about it, expressing an interest makes it that's a way to get a geek to talk right away.
You don't have to fake the interest. You can just say, I don't know a lot. I own that. And I actually am curious. What do you like about this so much, or these sorts of things?
And then giving it time, because I feel like, again, that can be a line. It can be, well, what do you like about anime? Did you know Jesus, whatever.
Yeah.
And so
big bait and switch.
Developing genuine relationships. There's a constant push and pull when it comes to evangelism in church culture, where it's like, it needs to be very immediate, it needs to be very blunt, and you need to express Christ, the gospel. You need to tell people about Christ. There are merits to that. Again, multifaceted faith, which is amazing. But then there's, I think, using wisdom that God gave us and asking God for that wisdom and that timing. Timing is a huge word in my life. That developing those relationships and taking the time with a geek is huge, because you're trying to build a bridge that's not there naturally. Other geeks may be able to walk up and go, dude, I love anime, and they're good, they're gone, whatever. But if you're not naturally a geek, you don't naturally like geeky things. Don't use superficial things like, hey, I went to go see the last Marvel movie, that makes me a geek, right? No. It doesn't. It means you have been exposed to it, and that's fantastic, right? Like, you have some passing interest, but it's I don't know what to compare it to, but it can read as superficial, even stuff like that. But being able to take the time, I think in my geek paper I actually used like Ren fairs and LARPing. That's the hardest one. It's the most uncomfortable one. But if you find out that someone is into that and everything, and you're like, what do you love to do? You just walk up to people and go, what do you love to do? What's your most favorite thing? And they go, I LARP on the weekends. And a lot of people will say that not nearly as hesitantly as I just did. Even they'll say, oh yeah, I know, we go to this park. And you go, oh, where? And you kind of find out about that, and you go, I've never done that. Like, I don't know anything about that. If
you don't know what LARPing is, go watch the movie Role Models. It's a very funny example.
There's a lot of LARPing in that. There's LARPing in Hawkeye. And so, and how he's just like, ugh, these people, they have no lives. That's how most LARPers understand the world, to see them. To have someone who's like, I don't understand, but I'm going to go put myself out there. And if you haze me, as part of belonging, I'm going to take it. We're going to do this. And being able to experience the interests and loves of other people, and take the time to get to know them, because they need time to get to know you. That's what he mentioned narcissism earlier. Again, statistically true, and which makes both of us narcissists.
It's a bit of a personality thing, self-focused rather than altruistic, other-focused kind of thing. It's a psychological metric. It's not to accuse you of being like a psycho.
It's not the way narcissism is used today, when you say narcissists and people who genuinely are toxic to other people, it's just more self-focused, and it's because there's a lack of self-image. Because again, there's openness, there's lack of boundaries. So you're sort of like, who am I? And very explorative and everything else. But anyway, being able to express interest in other people, and then people who are genuinely going to look for a relationship, who are going to have those spiritual discussions with you, they'll start to ask about who you are, or you'll tell them in passing. One of our friends, a pastor at a church, goes to D&D games and DMs. He volunteers to DM at these things that happen in downtown
Magic the Gathering tournaments.
And and he volunteers to do that. He doesn't mention he's a pastor. He's not ashamed. He doesn't mention it. But through the course of the game, after they've gotten to know that he's passionate about what he does, he already shares that geekdom, but he's able to kind of, through the nature of things, they finally ask him, what do you do? What's your life like? And they're open to that. He didn't come to them saying, I'm a pastor. They just ask. And
it's not a Trojan horse at that point either.
No.
Because he's actually done the good faith gesture of actually just being with them.
Yeah.
Time being kind of one of the big things.
Yeah. And so he, he'll say, well, I'm a pastor. And they're, what we've heard of the reactions are sort of like, you don't come off as a pastor. You don't come off as a Christian. And he's like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? He's like, well, you're nice and you don't seem to judge us. And that's weird, And so that's part of taking the time to form a relationship, letting them ask you questions rather than just volunteering information and saying, oh, let me find out what you like so that I can talk about myself. Like that's what a narcissist would do.
But I do have one answer to your question as well, or a facet kind of to this conversation. There's a nature to geeks, that geeks, nerds, all that stuff, that is kind of necessary to understand. The sharing or having a genuine interest or having a genuine motivation. Key number one, and then key number two is actual time spent. Understand you won't be able to switch from any geek property to any other geek property and still be able to spend the same amount of time necessary to have a genuine connection. You're probably going to have like maybe half a dozen different things. If you don't do this all the time, it's probably going to be more limited. So like Magic the Gathering, that's one that will take hours of your life. Hundreds. And then there's others that would do these kinds of things, like whether that's novels. There's, again, geeks specialize, they hyper specialize in things. That's kind of their MO. In fact, they get like brownie points for doing it. For being the most knowledgeable on Star Trek is like a big badge.
So a good point with that would be for people who are not, final thought, people who aren't geeks, trying to reach out to geeks, listen to God, really pray over those potential interactions. And you go to those club fairs, you go to whatever it is on campus, you pray through that and wait on the Spirit, wait on the timing, because what he's pointing out is, there may be an anime table across the room, but God may not have that for you. That may not be where you connect. But then someone else is passing by and you say, oh, what do you love to do anyway? Like, we do a bunch of stuff with our club, with crew and whatever. What do you love to do? Well, I LARP. And there's something about that. You'll feel a nudge from the Spirit and you go, that's the group you're going to concentrate on.
It's a community. Each one is a community unto itself. And it's something that you'll have to maintain a connection with over time to have the kind of opportunities that you look for when you're connected to people. Like, one of them will go through a divorce, or another one will have a kid commit suicide or something, or some other horrible thing could happen. And they want to turn to someone who they think might give them some kind of clarity as to, what do I do? If they find, hey, there's this guy who I think I can trust, who actually knows God, they'll talk to you.
True.
That's actually pretty big. But
only God knows who you should invest in at any given point when it comes to geeks. That's quite an investment.